Thank you, sir. At the outset, a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen who are attending this seminar. Great thanks to Air Marshal for introducing me so generously, as also Brigadier Bhatia, my old friend. I'd also like to thank Klaus for inviting me over to speak to you on this subject all the way from USA. I'm going to talk of civil military fusion. I've been told to talk about lessons from the US Army Futures Command, the China's civil military fusion, and where does it lead for India's industry military integration. I'll skim the surface, but for those of you who want to go into details, I've done talks, I've written about it. These are the links. You can have a look at it on my website www.gunnershot.com. Okay, what's the background? If you look at it, civil military fusion, USA went through this process of an intense civil military fusion during the Second World War, and that's where the military industry complex came up. You must remember, when we talk of civil military fusion, USA was producing military aircraft by the hour, tanks by the day, and warships by the week or even less. The entire industry, American industry, focused on churning out military equipment which could beat the Germans and the Japanese qualitatively and quantitatively. They did it successfully. Why have I got this? This is because China is trying to replicate this. And who's China's adversary? The only two, Taiwan and India. So QED. Okay, the last generation was about disruption in military affairs, or rather, a revolution in military affairs. We all knew about it as RMA in the Gulf War 1, 2, and Iraq and all that. But then a whole lot of disruptive technologies have come in. And this is where this business of civil military fusion started. I believe we are in for a stage of disruption in military affairs. And towards the end of my presentation, I'll put this across how this disruption is going to happen. And we are not going to be on board in this disruption. We are out of whack. Let's be very clear. Okay, what is the Chinese model of civil military fusion? Okay, now it took root at the turn of the century. It's already 20 years old. It's a top-down strategy to make PLA the most advanced military in the world by 2049. It eliminates barriers between civilian research, industrial, commercial, military, and defense sectors. Anything and everything is put under this basket. It is also about acquiring cutting edge technologies through coercive business models, especially from the West, and through theft of IPR to achieve military dominance, which they have done in a big manner from USA and Europe. It also aims at economic development and advancing dual use technologies, especially those suited for informatized and intelligentized warfare. Why this intelligentized warfare? I'll speak about it a little later because it's all about AI. And today, China is the leader in AI. And let me assure you, with what little knowledge I have, we are at the tail end. Okay, despite our strength in software and despite the fact that a lot of AI is being produced in places which matter by Indians. Okay, when they started, the Chinese spoke of military civil integration, but then they found it was no use. So they broke barriers and then went into fusion with a whole of nation approach. And this whole business bridges the economic and social development with security development, which means it's a bigger thinking than what you and I are thinking or what the air marshal spoke. We have to think big. Unless we think big, nothing will get done. And the whole idea is to strengthen all instruments of comprehensive national power. Right. Now, it's a six-faceted model. There are six facets to this model. That many more. I will not get into it, but the main things are this. It fuses the civil and defense technology and industrial base. So here the aim is technology and industry. Then it integrates science and technology innovations. That means it's going down to pure science. Then it blends expertise and knowledge and talent. So talent cultivation is part of the civil military fusion. That means you should be able to reach out to a student in IIT and pick him up and make him design your next AI algorithm or your cyberspace hack programs. You need to go deep. It also envisages civilian infrastructure and construction is leveraged for military purposes by building them to military requirements and standards. Here we have, I mean, we are somewhere there because we are doing this in the high altitude in the similar manner. Then the civilian services and logistics are used for military purposes. This is important. And all aspects of society and economy are utilized for mobilization of resources and capabilities for the defense of the nation. So it's a whole of the nation approach, and that's the most important thing. Okay, what is the structure? Because if you don't get the structure right, and if it is only, a couple of retired generals and air marshals and, retired brigadiers coming and speaking here, then we are now out of the whack again. In 2015, military civil fusion in China was elevated to a national level strategy to build an integrated national strategic system and capabilities to support the goal of national rejuvenation. Now, the overall management and implementation is monitored and managed by the Politburo, the State Council, including the National Development and Reform Council and the Central Military Commission. Now, they have made a central commission for military civil fusion. It was established in 2017. Once it was 2015, it became a national strategy. 2017, this system came into place. And it is headed by whom? By Xi Jinping with their premier and the next premier, whoever comes along now. So the push is at the top. It's a top-down approach. In effect, the most powerful people and organs of the state own and implement civil military fusion. That is the key. Unless you try something like that, we will only be trying to say how to, speed up our acquisition process. That's not the aim of civil military fusion. Okay, there are observations. It's not as if, the civil military fusion which China is doing is the thing, because many places I've heard that, everyone should ape Chinese model. No, it can't be done. First and foremost, civil military fusion, even in China, is at its early stages. Now, there is a view and a lot of analysis on this that it is China's attempt to overcome serious and persistent deficiencies in military procurement and R&D. In the current system, the political scenario in China has changed. There's a discernible shift towards statism in China. Will this whole CMF or MCF succeed? Because the MCF, when it came in, was premised on leveraging private sector in big way. So that fracture has taken place in China. No one trusts Chinese state corporations. So how will it get integrated to get the latest technologies? Right, that's what I said. The original part to acquire cutting technologies was through the private sector and international connections. That's gone. Okay. Now let's look at the US models of, civil military cooperation. Now, the civil military fusion in USA is far different from the all-encompassing top-driven Chinese model. First and foremost, it's not designated as civil military fusion or discussed that way. It is highly disaggregated and focused, but focused. And it is driven by the services to a large extent. That's why the Army Futures Command. The fundamentals, of course, we have to remember that the fundamentals of civil military fusion in USA are already in place. Right. The major advantage which USA had was that the military industry complex has traditionally been full of designers, developers, producers, suppliers of cutting edge weapons and technology globally. And they are a key component of the US economy. Okay, now the main thing is cutting edge technologies are being researched and developed in the USA in the private sector at scale. While that is being done, it is being supported by the government. In our case, that is not there. So we are not talking of civil military fusion. We are trying to speed up our acquisition procedures. So there's a mental shift which is required in this entire business. What is Army Futures Command? Army Futures Command started with 6 programs in order of priority. They wanted long-range precision fires, next-generation combat vehicles, future vertical lift platforms, mobile and expeditionary army network, communications, air and missile defense capability, and soldier lethality. Now they started with an outlay of $18 billion for these six projects. That means 3 billion per project, which is huge. We can't even think of it, right? Here you don't get even 10, even to get 10 crores for a, Army Technology Board project, you have to run 3 years. That's the difference. It's a mind shift which I'm talking of. Now the Army Futures Command has integrated entrepreneurs, scientists, academia, and businesses. With their money, with everything delegated to them, the army runs the show. Okay. Now they're also doing tapping in of in-house talent. Now they're going in a big way in terms of disruptive technologies as related to sensors, terminal effects, kinetic and non-kinetic, command and control, basically for maneuver, fire and intelligence, protection, communications, air, satcom, aerial, terrestrial, whatever. They're looking at robotics, AI/ML, medical sustainment, autonomy, cloud computing, and planning. All these they're tackling. And all these fundamental technologies they want to apply in these six programs. I mean, it's a fascinating way they're going about doing things. Okay, where is it being executed? Now, these are they're mainly in their training establishments. For example, Fires is their school of artillery. Okay, of course, the Army Future Command is at the head, but their training institutions are the ones who are executing this. So there's a model available. You take the Army Futures Command model and you take the some parts of the Chinese model and you can have something for ourselves. Okay. Now, it's not as if this the Army Futures Command, is great. They're also having problems. It's been in existence for 4 years now. Now the US government is already thinking of shifting it from the exclusive control of the army to the control of the larger Department of Defense bureaucracy. They wanted to convert it into an advisory board focused on emerging technology and less on near-term programs. They found that if you give too much delegation to the services don't have the capability to run programs and execute programs. So they are saying, look, let the services be advisory board, let them do everything, but the control will be with the government. Now, that means we are getting back to the Indian model. The difference is, I, I don't say it with disrespect, but with a lot of care. The American bureaucracy delivers to the country. Is that the case with our own bureaucracy? It's a huge question mark. Okay. Now, the reason for this changes in policy is largely due to bureaucratic tangles, as I said earlier. Now, the Army Futures Command might not be hereafter as empowered as it was envisioned. This dilutes the fusion concept considerably. So, you have something good and something bad in both these models. Okay. Right. Now, this is the whack. This is something which is very important. This is the real civil military fusion which is happening in USA. What are they hitting at? They're hitting at quantum, AI. Now, AI is being developed in open source by a firm called OpenAI. For those of you who are this thing, you can go on the web and you can put in your questions and you'll get AI chap answering you or a machine answering you. Then SpaceX, the complete Starlink network is twice the amount of the rest of the satellites in the world. That's the scale, which and it's all somewhere it's government backed. Then of course cyber, they'll not tell you what they're doing. There's a whole lot of focus on additive manufacturing, and this new term called synthetic biology. Semiconductors, they've gone in for the CHIPS Act. It's all part of the civil military fusion. Then they're looking at energy, renewable energy, fusion energy, which is recently done in Livermore lab for fusion, which is in Silicon Valley. And then they're looking at huge amount of communication networking. And all this business needs cloud. And that cloud memory, they've gone to Amazon. And you need data sovereignty. Keep talking of data sovereignty. Microsoft has been given a order $10 billion contract for data sovereignty. The real whack is here. You might hear that China is, doing a lot on many of these technologies. Will they be able to put it together the way these people are doing? Very difficult. So there is a model for us to learn because this is something where we can do if you start today. Some you can, some you might not. But you need to have a concept. right? That is the important thing which I wanted to tell you. This is simply out of the world, and you'll be surprised. Where did I get all this information? I got this information in a conversation between ex CEO of Google and the current CEO of OpenAI in public television. Listening to them, I got this. That's the kind of civil military fusion we are talking of, right? Okay. Now, what are the lessons? You need political will and drive. You need committed funding. Services versus trop driven or a combination is what I had earlier said also. You need to stay the course, right? The US and Chinese models itself have changed. So it's not only you have to do stay the course largely, but you need to be able to also autocorrect. And then you need politico-military bureaucratic fusion, which has been missing in our system, right? I've put three. It is not only one. It is all three, right? Unless we have a sense of this, and I've written about this. Again, you put these three words and go into my website. I've written three or four articles about it. Okay, right. What is my recommendation if it has to be in India? What I feel we need to have civil military fusion in 5 clusters. The first cluster is successful in key sectors of national importance: defense, space, atomic energy, energy and communications, where we've had some success, right? We've had some great this thing. For example, our space is not integrated with the military at all, right? Then you're looking at this is the last slide. So if I overshot time, please excuse me. Then the next one is the disruptive and modern technologies, like what we have spoken of. But you need a lot of venture capitalists. You need established private industry with international linkages to get into the whole thing. And it should be on a mission mode. Otherwise, you're out of whack again. So the third one is infrastructure and logistics. This is something which we can put together, rail, road networks, airports, and all that. I think we are okay. But most importantly, we need all this in along our northern borders, where the technologies are of higher standards, right? Especially for things like additive manufacturing and lightweight systems, renewable energy. Renewable energy, this is something we need to focus on. The fourth thing where you need fusion is financial fusion. Now, the current government-based financial models are archaic and linear in nature, and it will never be done. So, financing for civil military fusion should be based on venture capitalism and market principles. Do we have a structure for this? That's the big question. Then, of course, the last one, that's what I heard a lot of people speaking about. Conventional bread and butter technology, goods and manufacturing, where dual use can be exploited. Right. So these 5 clusters are what you can do for civil military fusion. Look, I'm not trying to be negative about the whole affair or pessimistic about the whole affair. We've achieved hell of a lot, but we need to change the way we think if you're looking at uh, civil military fusion. Okay. Uh, that's all I've had. If there's anything more, we can always no, you can come back to me during the Q&A. Thanks a lot. I've done, sir. Over to you.